We want our right to independence, future, and development to be respected. BRICS has put new paradigms on the world agenda. I would take the Johannesburg and Kazan BRICS declarations, and I would take two key issues. First, the need for a new economic agenda with practical solutions for international trade and currency exchange. We need a new international monetary system. We all recognize this new need. It is not just a question of small reforms of the monetary system, of the financial system, which sometimes seems unable to sustain reforms because the colonial countries of the West would like to re-establish their hegemony through the mechanisms of a hegemonic currency, financial system, credit, imposing economic packages, as well as economic conditions. For this reason, Venezuela insists on the need for more decisive steps to strengthen the BRICS new development bank. For the peoples of the South, for their development and access to investment, progress must be made in establishing a new payment system to replace payment systems that are sometimes used as weapons of aggression. Venezuela was excluded from all the world's payment systems as part of aggression, an economic punishment for regime change, as you know very well. We need a basket of currencies that combines the strong currencies of the superpowers with the right of each of our countries to have its own currency. We need to find practical solutions to the problems of developing a new inclusive economy of independent countries that seek social happiness, that seek dignity. Secondly, we need to reform the United Nations system. I said to Secretary General Antonio Guterres, every time a precision missile falls on a residential building in Gaza and kills men, women, and children, every time a missile falls on Beirut or on southern Lebanon, those missiles set fire to the United Nations system and destroy it. Where is the UN International Court of Justice, or was it created only to persecute? Yeah, the countries of the global South? Where is the UN justice system? Only to prepare documents, communiques. Are the lives of Palestinian children worthless? Let us be loud. Let us seek a practical, audacious plan to revitalize the United Nations system, which is in agony in the face of the rise of the Nazi and fascist movements at this painful stage in history. A new world is possible. We believe that a new world is already emerging. BRICS is the epicenter of the birth and historical emergence of this new world. A world with deeply human values and principles. As I told you, Russian President Vladimir Putin, yesterday during our bilateral meeting, Venezuela is part of the BRICS family. I am grateful for the invitation you extended to me. This is the first time that a Venezuelan president is participating in a BRICS summit of this kind, and we are applying the BRICS principles with conviction. Historical conviction. 200 years ago, in a completely different world, the liberator, Venezuelan national hero, Simon Bolivar, with a sword in his hand, liberated countries, continents, and advocated balance in the world. I believe that the time has come, as our commander, former Venezuelan President Hugo Rafael Chavez Frias said, for this world of balance, which is a multipolar, multi-centered world. BRICS can count, Mr. President, presidents, on the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and on all the revolutionary power of our historic project. Thank you very much, President. Dear Mr. President, Venezuela continues Chavez's policy of strengthening the country's sovereignty. It has a good rate of development. Last year, 5.5%. This year, it will be more than 7%. I am sure that in this sense, you are on the right track. The government formed under your leadership after the elections will do a lot for the development of Venezuela and for cooperation with other countries, including within the BRICS. Thank you for your statement.
In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, dear Mr. Vladimir Putin, presidents and prime ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I hope as a result of the created unison and thought exchange environment, and based on the beautiful title for this summit, BRICS and the Global South, building a better world together, we take a new step towards building a better system and fairer relations based on collective consent. The foundations of unilateral equations and balances arising from unipolarity have become extremely weak and shaky. Many international structures and mechanisms arising from this approach, such as the United Nations Security Council, the International Monetary Fund, human rights institutions, and other examples have lost their effective and constructive efficiency due to politicization and the influence of Western governments. This is why this group, since its inception, has been able to become a successful model of cooperation and convergence between countries in the regional and international arenas, in light of its lofty and popular goals. This summit reflects the fact that building a better world is not possible alone, and that in today's interconnected world, collective will and action are needed, a fundamental change that requires reform of the current system and creating a new balance of power based on justice and consent. In other words, a better world would be a place where there is no sign of sanctions, imposition of will, aggression, war, conquest, and genocide, and where multilateralism prevails instead of unilateralism, majority rule instead of minority rule, equality instead of discrimination, transparency instead of deception, democracy instead of authoritarianism, and dialogue instead of war. Our world has faced numerous incidents over the past year, and many components of peace and security, especially in the West Asia region, have been weakened or threatened. The Zionist regime, disregarding international standards, has violated many of the red lines of governments and has cravenly added another dark page in the history of its widespread crimes, producing a new wave of violence and terror. The fire of war is still raging in the Gaza Strip, Palestine, and the cities of Lebanon, and international institutions and forums, led by the United Nations Security Council as the driving force of international peace and security, lack the necessary efficiency to extinguish the fire of this crisis. On the other hand, the unwavering support of Western governments, led by the United States, for the Zionist regime has put the path to peace and an end to the war beyond reach. Therefore, BRICS and BRICS Plus should design and implement a transparent, fair, inclusive, non-discriminatory, and rules-based multilateral trade mechanism with a special focus on the Global South and development for the least developed countries. The legal sanctions have devastating effects on international relations, preventing countries from accessing their financial resources and negatively affecting countries' abilities to play an effective role in processes of international cooperation, such as combating the adverse effects of climate change, global warming, environmental degradation, and providing humanitarian aid. Many of the BRICS member countries or countries associated with them have dynamic and developing economies. This potential holds valuable opportunities that, if harnessed and focused on building deep economic and trade ties, can bring rich and widespread benefits. The use of national currencies for trade, new banking platforms, digital currencies, strengthening the new development bank, and the contingency reserve arrangement, and other measures will be able to build a better world for all. Distinguished guests, the geographical scope of BRICS is a unique opportunity to facilitate transcontinental communication and achieve collective common interests, a process that will have a significant impact on reducing the gap in the development process and increasing the well-being of the people. The future belongs to countries that play the greatest role in creating convergence and establishing a new order of institutionalized relations based on a discourse of harmony and justice.
Your current trip to Russia is the first as President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and it has great symbolic significance. Iran is now a full-fledged member of BRICS, and, as you are aware, we strongly supported your bid. Earlier, we had just as strongly promoted your accession to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So, we now have additional opportunities to cooperate in the international arena. Recently, in Ashgabat, we had a very informative and, I think, useful meeting, where we discussed the main aspects of bilateral cooperation and the most important regional issues. The most important thing is that we confirmed our common course of strengthening our relations worldwide. They are on the rise and are truly friendly and constructive. Soon, we will be able to consolidate the results achieved with a new major intergovernmental agreement on a comprehensive strategic partnership between Russia and Iran. We are grateful that you have accepted the invitation to pay a separate visit to our country to sign this and other important documents in a solemn atmosphere. As I said in Ashgabat, one of the urgent tasks in our relations is to consolidate the emerging positive dynamics of trade and economic cooperation. Among the priorities are the implementation of such major joint initiatives as the development of Iran's railway infrastructure as part of the promotion of the large-scale North-South International Transport Corridor project, the construction of the second and third power units of the Bushehr NPP, and of course, the expansion of economic relations will be facilitated by the free trade agreement to be signed between Iran and the Eurasian Economic Union at sea. The visa-free regime for organized tourist groups, in force since last August, has stimulated the growth of mutual tourist exchanges. For 2023, the growth is 52%. Let us continue today to discuss the most pressing international issues, including the dramatic developments in the Middle East and the situation in Syria and the Transcaucasus, South Caucasus. In general, I would like to stress that Russia's and Iran's approaches to the global agenda are close or fully convergent. We are united by our desire to establish a fair multipolar world order, to respect international norms, and to preserve the central role of the United Nations. I take this opportunity to convey my greetings and best wishes to the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei. We greatly appreciate his attentive and constructive approach to the development of Russian-Iranian relations.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to Kazan. I am very pleased to have the opportunity to meet with you. Yes, as you said, we had a very good meeting in Ashgabat, and certain agreements were reached. I have taken personal control over the implementation of certain agreements, and I have just spoken with my colleagues, with ministers, so that at this meeting I can also complete everything that was left over from the last Iranian government. If necessary, I will deal with this matter again personally, so that all agreements and documents can be signed as soon as possible. Our relations are strategic. It is in the interests of our states to move forward together. Our dear neighbor Russia is a great country. We must continue our constructive cooperation within the BRICS framework. With your support, we have joined the Eurasian Economic Community in the form of a free trade zone, the SCO and the BRICS, for which we are grateful to you, Mr. President, and we will certainly continue along this path in the most active way. I think there were very useful points discussed today. Everything was constructive, and our course is also aimed at comprehensive cooperation with the BRICS member countries. We will be able to neutralize all U.S. sanctions that will be imposed on us, on you and on us, and we will be able to regulate all the processes that they are trying to destroy. Our relations in various fields, economic, political, cultural, are developing very well. I am confident that we will soon be able to sign an agreement. At the first opportunity, we will finalize this issue. We will agree on this moment. I think that the date for signing this agreement will be set soon.
In project, the construction of the first NPP in Kyiv, The work is being done on all the 4 power units around the clock, and we believe that already next year the power station will start to provide energy for the Turkish energy system. Do the Turkish energy grid, as was the task set by you, Mr. President. And tourist cooperation is traditionally important area of our collaboration. Last year, record high 6.3 million Russian nationals visited Turkey, which is 20.7% higher than the year before it. And in January, August of this year, more than 4.5 million people visited Turkey. And again, we have the growth here, and Russia is #1. Turkey is #1. Turkey, the tourist destination for Russia. And we also helped with the wildfires. Our aviation participated in this effort. And of course, we are going to discuss the international agenda, considering the BRICS Head of State Summit and other states that are part of the Outreach BRICS Plus format. Your participation in this event is going to reflect the substantive role that Turkey is playing in resolving relevant issues of modern world. The most acute topic is the tragic developments in the Middle East. The principal position of Russia and Turkey are very close in these regards, and the diplomatic settlement of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict could be achieved only via establishment of the Palestinian state based on the two-state solution. And we are going to speak about the Syrian peace process, normalization of the situation in South Caucasus, and of course, I'm ready to brief you on the situation in and around the Ukrainian crisis. Mr. President, we are very glad to see you. Welcome. Mr. President, my dear friend, I thank you for the invitation to participate in the extended BRICS Summit. It is to me a great pleasure to meet you again after our meeting in Astana. And especially I would like to express our gratitude for your condolences. We have 4 casualties, 4 martyrs, 4 people were wounded. It's an act of cowardice. This terrorist attack was an act of cowardice, and I wish Allah received the souls of our martyrs. Your foreign minister last Friday, visited Istanbul to participate in the 3+3 format meeting, and now we wish to see you in our country shortly. Mr. President, we continue to make every effort to resolve the issues with the banking transactions between our countries. We continue to make efforts with our finance ministry and our central bank, and our trade ministers already started to work on this matter as well.